Welcome to Real Talk with Real Estate Pros, where we bring you exclusive interviews with the real estate experts. We'll delve deep into their journey to success and learn how to go the extra mile to serve their clients' wants and needs. Let's dive in. Here's your host, John Money McKinley.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Real Estate Pros. Today, we're going to dive a little deep into what's going on in some of the news and the wonderful happenings of real estate in our local area and around town here in the Houston surrounding areas, as well as kind of dig into a little bit of what's going on all over Texas. Just to let everybody know also, too, I may be having a special guest come on. I haven't confirmed everything yet, but hopefully we'll be able to get him on. I think you all will really like him. He is an expert in the credit side of things. So hopefully to be able to have him on, we'll be able to get some questions answered, because last time I had Greg on, I did have a lot of people asking a lot of questions after, and hopefully we'll be able to get him back on today. But we are coming to an end of the year 2023. You know, at least that's what they tell us on the calendar anyways. But as we've seen some crazy happenings in the wonderful world of real estate, you know, the average price of real estate in Texas from 2022 to 2023 really did not follow a consistent trend of increase. You know, as of September 2023, the average home value in Texas was reported to be $300,000, which actually reflected a slight decrease at 1.8% over the past year. This really contrasts what we saw in 2022, where the median home price had reached $340,000, which is up 13.3% from the previous year. Earlier in 2022, the median home price in Texas was reported at about $355,800. That's down 7% from its peak of $382,800 in May of 2022. And if we take a look here at the Houston market, what we see going on is from 2022 to 2023, really displayed some lot of fluctuations. By late 2023 in the Houston area, there was a marginal increase in the average price of single-family homes, reaching about $403,556. So we've actually bumped up a little bit, but we've shown a median home price decline of about 0.09% down to $327,000 as of October 31st, 2023. The Woodlands Sugarland area is reporting a $301,550,000, indicating a 1.2 decrease over the past year. You know, if we look at this in contrast, you know, during the 2022 housing market, we experienced a definite large growth, you know, in the housing prices in Houston market. We reached record highs during the pandemic and continued this trend to the first part of 2022, with single family homes costing over $400,000. So it's good that we're starting to see a little bit of cooling off in this real estate market, because let's be honest, we had gotten a little overinflated with the housing values, which has been part of the issues that have caused people difficulty in being able to afford housing these days. We start taking a look and see what's going on for the average days on market for a home in the Houston area. We've shown a slight increase over the past year. As of October 2023, homes in the Houston area typically sold after 31 days on the market, compared to 29 days the previous year. Earlier this year, we were looking at days on the market had increased from 43 to 47 days. And that's reflecting somewhat of a slower pace in selling of homes. These figures suggest the model increase in a time, you know, this figure suggests that the model has increased the time it takes to sell a home in the Houston market, indicating a slightly brisk slightly less brisk market compared to the previous year, which once again, this is something that's actually a very good thing for us. You know, we're not experiencing what we went through in 2008. And if any of my viewers remember 2008 market, it was crazy. We had housing prices kind of fall off the cliff, and we're really not seeing that happen here. We're seeing more of a slow decline, which is good. It's a little softening of the market, and hopefully it's going to start opening up some more for people to be able to actually start affording homes. We've also seen a little bit of pullback on the interest rates, which is another great thing going on. Um, this gives you a lot of options though with what's happening. You know, you can stay put in your current home and enjoy it. You can take a look at selling it, you know, putting some money back in your pocket to move into a new location. Or even what some people do is they say, forget it, I'm going to sell everything, reach retirement. I'm going to travel across America in an RV, which that is an option. And, you know, there's a lot of people that do that and have a good time doing that. You've also got the option to access your equity and eliminate some high interest rate debt that's going on, you know, on the credit cards. We've seen a lot of people hurting, even though I know we're experiencing the bestest economy ever, according to the television. Of course, a lot of us start wondering that when we go to the grocery store and find that 2 bags of groceries cost about $75. But in good news, I have noticed that the cost of beer and wine is really not seen to be affected by this rapid inflation. So at least that's a plus. You can have a drink to get over the rapid inflation. But oh, wait a minute. I'm taking a look here. It does look like Mr. Greg West has stepped into the studio. Greg, how are you doing on this fine morning, sir?
Good, brother. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I was just kind of sharing with our audience here, digging into the wonderful news of the real estate and what's going on and how things seem to have cooled off a little bit, at least in our area of town. How's things going in your town? I know you're in Kentucky.
Yeah, I would say things are either leveling off or still going higher, but mainly because we're getting a lot of people from the West Coast, especially, and they're just buying up houses. A lot of them with cash, probably because they're selling them for millions out there and then buying them for a few $100,000 over here. Because we're still, I'm not in real estate, but I'd say we're probably still on the lower end of what housing is nationwide. So good bargains to be had if you got the cash, got the money.
I know a couple of my friends are in Kentucky and they say they love it. It's still affordable there, and it's
Yeah,
good people and got that mountain living, clean mountain living.
some parts. Yeah.
And once again, this is Greg West. He is a credit expert that I and my clients have worked with for over 20 years now, and he has really been able to offer a lot of help to people that have run into some challenges with credit. And what I really like about Greg is he takes the time to actually sit down and educate people on their credit so they have a better understanding. You know, there's a lot of companies out there you can just go to and have them do a quote unquote credit cleanup. But if you're not getting to the root of your problems, you're never really going to solve it. And that's what I really like about Greg. Well, I'll tell you what, Greg, you got a minute? Because I got a couple of stories I
Sure.
wanted to get in here with the audience. And then I definitely want to get into some questions because, like I said, I've had a lot of questions since you were last on the show. And I'm glad you're able to make it back on and we can dig in and start answering some more questions for folks. But let me go ahead and share my screen with folks here, and yes, and share. All righty. This article here comes from the Community Impact, and it's giving us an idea of kind of what's going on with some real estate trends here in the Woodlands area, which that happens to be where my office is located, in case anybody wanted to know that and wanted to come by my office to chat about what their options are for financing in real estate. We're looking here as of November 2nd. We got reports of fewer offices, industrial and retail buildings were under construction. Looking at retail occupancy decreased from 96.3 to 95.4%. And 406,700 square feet of retail space was under construction as of early November. And we can take a look here of what's going on with the different trends. I know if there's anybody listening or watching the show now that's been anywhere around the Houston area or in the Woodlands, there still is a lot of activity going on. I noticed a little less activity during the holiday shopping that we had just a few weeks ago on Black Friday. How did it look where you were at, Greg, in your area of town over there in Kentucky?
Well, as far as Black Friday goes, it was wasn't the same, man. They kind of ruined it. Of course, they started Black Friday on November 1st for the most part. You had deals all along, and it just wasn't. We went out in it, but the crowds weren't nearly like they used to be. I think they kind of took the fun out of it. They're trying to get everybody to do everything online, but yeah, nothing more to report than that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I noticed too. I mean, there was some people out, and the Woodlands is always a
There was,
very busy area, but it just, like you said, it wasn't like it traditionally was this time of year. But the good thing is we've still got things going and still got businesses running, which keeping the fingers crossed that keeps going.
right.
And then we've got another article here. This is about the Heights area. And if anybody is familiar in the Houston area with the Heights, we all know what's happened here in the Heights area over the past, over 10 years now. That area has seen a tremendous amount of revitalization. And there's a developer that's breathing some new life into some abandoned condo projects that were happening in the Heights. There was one area in particular over there, over off of Yale. It was dormant, and it looks like a new developer, Bella Houston Real Estate, bought the property from the lender, Steadfast Funding, in January and began working on the interior. So when the completion, the condos are going to be selling for, oh, look, just this only 700,000 to 1.8 million. So, Greg, you and the family could leave your secret bunker in Kentucky, where you work on the secrets of the credit side of things, and come down here to the Heights area, and just to get you a nice little place for 700,000 to 1.8 million.
Yeah, if I sold my house, I could get a third of that condo. Good gosh, man.
You might be able to afford the down payment.
You'd be surprised what you can get for $750,000 up here. It'd be enormous.
I was gonna say, I bet you could buy a ranch up there with a nice big home on it.
You can, absolutely.
Yeah, looks like residents are expected to begin moving in next fall. Well, that's a good thing, and that's a nice looking little project there. And let's go back to the Woodlands area here, where, oh, look, here's another one, a luxurious 4-story townhouse in the Woodlands just sold for $1.2 million. Oh,
Wow.
you know where this area is at? I've been over at this area. This is a really nice area here in the Woodlands, and looking at this townhome, I'm almost positive my dog has walked by this place before and at least marked it once or twice. But yeah, over there on 47 Colonial Row Drive, yep, in the Woodlands. Yeah, the list price for the home was at 1.195 million. Wow. Designed by its owner, town was a true masterpiece. Look, it's got a generous 3,252 square feet of living space, and it's 4 stories. Comfort and elegance. Well, I would hope for $1.2 million, it's got some comfort and elegance.
You would think.
I would think on that one. And then let's get into one more story here. You know, we do talk about real estate on this show. And as far as I'm concerned, anything in the heavens is considered real estate. So let's take a look at what we have here. Oh, Google AI. Have you heard about this Google AI, Greg?
I heard it's coming new. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, looky here. Google's AI technology analysis suggests that the Apollo 11 moon landing photos are fabricated.
What?
I know. I said the same thing. I mean, look at that. Look at that craft there, Greg. How could you question that?
Well, I am now. I'm going to lose my deposit on my moon space.
Oh, okay. I mean, you've got some wonderful footage there. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Greg. Look what we have here. That looks like the bad, evil Hitler Putin. A recent development in the moon ongoing debate over the authenticity of the U.S. moon landing photographs has emerged, fueled by artificial intelligence during the World Tour of Artificial Intelligence. I didn't realize that AI was on tour right now.
I didn't either.
Wonder how much tickets cost for that show.
Don't know.
And there it is in an event in Moscow with Russian President evil Vladimir Putin, Hitler, was presented with an AI analysis suggesting that the image of the U.S. astronauts landing on the moon might not be genuine.
My God.
Say what?
Only 50 years later. I get it.
This analysis based on a neural network technology, so that's fancy computer science there, Greg, was demonstrating a video featuring Putin and Nikolai. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try. We'll just call him Nikolai. The video, which has gained significant attention online, shows Putin questioning the authenticity of the Apollo 11 mission images. Nikolai explained that the neural network deemed almost all of the elements in the U.S. moon landing photos to be fabricated. Huh.
Dun-dun.
Citing discrepancies such as light-dark contrast. I would love to see people's comments in the chat. Please leave a message, put a comment on what your thoughts are on this. I find this stuff funny and fascinating. Oh, there, I knew it. We've gotten to the bottom of this. However, he noted that the AI did not express any doubts of the CGI images. Oh, I'm sorry, images. It didn't say CGI. I added that in. Taken by the Chinese lunar rover during its mission.
When was that? I don't even remember seeing pictures of that.
So apparently it looks like China has been to the moon now. Which that's news to me. And once again, on Real Talk with Real Estate Pros, we dive into real estate, whether it's here on Earth or up in the heavens, to give you all what's truly happening. But yeah, please, everyone, I would love to see your all's comments on that, and definitely, please give us your thoughts on what's going on with that and what you think about it. But I would also definitely, now we've got a little bit of time left here on the show, I'd definitely, if you got a few minutes here, Greg, I'd love to take some time to ask some questions that we had from the last time you were on the show.
Sure.
All righty, let me see here. Okay. Let me see here. All righty. Oh, here's a good one from Jill. What are the most common mistakes you see people making with their credit right now?
That's a good one, because there can be a lot of answers to that. Right now, with what's going on, probably getting overextended with credit cards. Be surprised how many people I talk to. They're like, well, I pay my bills on time, but my score keeps going down. They don't realize how big of an impact the credit card utilization rate has on that. at least with the FICO model, you're looking at 30% of your scores based on how much credit card debt you have compared to what you have access to. So what I mean by that is, say you've got two cards where you have access to $10,000. Well, I know from personal experience, and I know the experts say 30%, but I've seen it happen with mine just going over 10%. Once you hit 10% utilization, your score does take a little hit. And once you go over 20, it really starts taking a beating, and then 30% and so on. So basically on a $10,000 worth of limits, once you hit 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, each one of those barriers takes your score down a little more. So what's happening is people are charging up their cards, but they're still paying them on time, assuming everything's okay. And they don't realize why their score is going down. But that's, in these economic times, that's probably the biggest things. A lot of people are having to use their cards, unfortunately, for things other than emergencies just to get by.
So the good old analogy that was, keep your balances no higher than 20, 30% is kind of out the window now when you start getting above that even 10%
Well,
mark.
well, the only reason I say that is I know for a fact, and I tell people this all the time. About 10 years ago, I had 8% credit card utilization across the board.
Hmm.
And something happened with my girls with college or something. But anyway, I went from 8% to 22% in 1 month's time. And I saw my score drop 40 points. So that right there told me all I needed to know, that 30% that they tell you, that's probably the highest you want to get. Because after that, you really start taking a beat and going down.
Okay. No, that's great. I appreciate that. So yeah, everybody listening and watching, definitely try to keep your balances well below the 30% to elevate your credit scores. Because especially now, I know I'm seeing it on my side of things. When I go to pull up pricing for people getting a mortgage, one of the key things that's looked at is, what is your credit score?
Now, I will give you, here's a good tip. If you see you're getting to a point because you're just trying to get by where you're going to be having to use your cards more, at least for a short period of time, maybe 6 months to a year, and right now you're still in the mid to high sevens, you have two options. You can pay down the cards you have, which that's probably not a good one since you don't have the cash, or you can increase your overall what you have access to. So I've actually been telling some of my clients that are in this sort of situation, go ahead and open some more cards. So like 10,000 that you had, if you get it up to 20,000, now you can charge up more and not be hit with that utilization as hard. But of course, don't run the cards up. That's not the point. But it is a way that you can kind of get by until you. And again, I know this from personal experience as well. I made it to where I have over access to over $100,000 worth of credit cards. Now I'm nowhere near that in debt, but that allows me to access 20,000 or so without being crushed too bad on my scores if I ever needed it.
Okay, so you've given yourself a safety cushion or a safety valve
Sure.
to where, God forbid, something happened to you or one of your family members, you've got that access to the capital there that you can use short term without really destroying your credit rating, which everybody knows everything for credit. For credit, I mean, it's used for everything nowadays, whether you want to buy a house, whether you want to rent a house, even for your auto insurance.
Yep. And I'll tell you what started me down that road is I'm self-employed. So I have issues proving what I owe because of all the deductions with taxes and whatnot. So I had to a point where I had to get some money, and of course, I went to where a lot of people go, which is a finance company, and of course, they're wanting crazy amount of interest, and then they want so many records of stuff. They eventually wanted my bank statements, and I just wasn't giving it to them, so I said, forget it. So I found it out by accident about all the credit cards years and years ago. But also, what happens with that is credit cards have a lot of use now as far as getting balance transfers. There's even a few that you can do a balance transfer to your checking and get like 12, 15, 18 months interest free. The credit cards are good tools you can use if you use them correctly. Uh, they don't have that. Uh, Years ago, you didn't want a bunch of them. They had a bad reputation for it, but now they can be some great tools to keep you out of a bind.
Well, I know some real estate investors that I work with. What they'll do is they'll use the no interest or the transfer of the balances or even directly put into their checking account so they can get access to that cash. They'll go buy an investment property that needs work and use that capital to get them through the renovation stages on the property before I turn around and take them into the long-term financing, 30-year fixed financing, or have them flip the property. And they use
Mhm.
it as an incredible, incredible tool. And plus, as long and I want everybody to understand here, when we talk about credit and we talk about financing, please consult an expert for this because everybody has a different situation. You want to make sure when you're dealing with anything with your credit, with your financing, you're talking to a true professional, a true expert who has your best interest in mind. Because we all know we've been to the Walmarts, we've been to the store when you're going to buy two shirts that are on sale for $30 and they go, "Would you like to apply for a credit card?" And they want you to give your social security number, all your personal information. Well, you got 15 people standing behind you.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. I usually put a disclaimer when I do things. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Do your own research. The stories I've told you is what I've personally done, and I know that it works.
Well, exactly. And that just full disclosure here, so everybody knows, I've worked with Mr. West, and my clients have worked with Mr. West for over 20 years, and I consider Mr. West an expert in the field. And I always tell people, especially when you're dealing in the side of real estate, you want to have your team members in the corner. You've got to have your team. It's like any boxer or MMA fighter. It's not just him in that ring. He's got his people in the corner because they're there to advise him and guide him through the treacherous waters. So hopefully you can get to the end of the fight and come out the victor. And when you're buying real estate, whether it's to buy a home to live in or whether it's buying a home for investing, you've got to have all your people in the corner so you don't walk off the cliff and kill yourself, basically.
Yep.
Well, speaking of that, I got another good question here. Let's talk about technology and credit management. And we know we've been seeing a lot with technology. We saw what the Chad GPT had to say uh, with Mr. Putin. Surprised Trump wasn't in that article. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? I apologize. How can people use technology or digital tools to better manage their credit? And that's from Stan.
Stan. Okay. Uh, ugh. There's a lot of, I call them the free services, Credit Karma, and them. They do have some items where, even credit wise, and some credit cards have them as well. And their bonuses of where they'll give you, like if you pay off a certain amount of debt, it'll recalculate your scores for you. So any type of program where they can teach you or show you how to what like which debts to pay off first to get the most benefit to get your scores up. Of course, any sort of budgeting software is huge. A lot of people, the amount of money they think they have is what they see in their bank, and they're not budgeting ahead of time. Know what, like say you make 500 a week, 1,000 a week, your rent's coming due for 2,000. You forgot to save half of it from 2 weeks and 3 weeks prior because you didn't have something in place to let you know to do that. So that would probably be the two biggest things. Just something simple. They're out there. Most of them are free that you can use as far as technology goes.
Do you have any budgeting tools or budgeting software or budgeting apps you would recommend listeners check out to see what they could use? Because that's another thing too that I've been talking with people about a lot lately is a lot of people don't have budgets set in place and have in plan. And I learned this a long time ago. You have to treat your dollars as little slaves. And if you direct them on what to do, they will do wonderful things for you as long as you're in the one in control of them. And I always tell people, you want to take your little dollars or slaves and you want to tell them to go out and find as many of their friends as they can and multiply and bring them back to you.
Well, as you know, I don't tell anybody something that I'm not for sure on. I personally, what I've always just told people, I do it all with paper and pen as far as writing it all down. Seeing it visually always works well. I'm sure there's some good budget software out there. I've not looked. I probably should so that I can give somebody the technology part to look at. But I always start with the fixed expenses, writing them all down because that never changes.
Hmm.
And then with the credit cards, I'll have them list them generally from the least amount they owe to the highest and put the interest rates to the side. And I focus on the lowest ones first, just because if they feel like they're making, because it's all mostly it's mental. If they feel like they're making progress and paying stuff off, it'll keep them motivated to keep on the budget. But to answer the question, as far as I have a budget software I'd recommend, no, not at the moment. I'd have to look into it before I could. And I like to use stuff before I recommend anything because it comes
Okay.
back on me if it doesn't work out.
Okay. Well, I will definitely hold you to that. So next time that we meet, I will definitely hopefully you'll have one. And I'm just like you. I'm old school. Give me a pen and give me a paper and a pencil and kind of let me do that. I even still use.
An Excel spreadsheet would work if you wanted to do that too. Sorry to cut you off there. Microsoft Excel.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You could use it for that. That adds everything up. There's a lot you can do with that.
Oh, perfect. Well, Greg, I really appreciate you being on the show. My producer Chad is nudging me, saying, "Hey, it's coming
Tad's
to
a good
the
worker.
end of the show." If people need to get a hold of you, Greg, and they have credit questions, what is the best way they can get a hold of you? And you'll take the time to chat with them and kind of look into what they have going on and be able to help them, hopefully.
Well, they can call me directly. Numbers right there on the screen. But also a website at westcreditservices.com. You can fill out a little consultation form and I'll get an email and I can call you whenever. And of course, if you get the voicemail, definitely leave a message. I do check it frequently and I'll get back to you. And I'm the only one you'll speak with. I'm the owner. Everybody calls, they talk with me.
Okay, perfect. So they're not going to get pawned off to somebody else. They're going to go directly to the horse's mouth. No offense.
Exactly. Correct. None to
Perfect. Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all my listeners and viewers of the show. Remember, this is Real Talk with Real Estate Pros. We are on every Wednesday at 11:30 Central Time. And we've got a lot of great guests coming up as we get towards the end of the year. And as always, if you guys need anything or you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, 281-851-4963. And please subscribe to the show, like the channel, and share it with your friends. You're always looking for something to share with y'all. Y'all have a great day.